Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Zin and today we're doing a Tyranitar release tier list video, patch 1.6.1.3 for both lane and jungle for SoloQ. And by the way, this is a proper tier list. It has its own criteria, but I can't make the video too long, so I'll try my best to shorten it as much as I can. So I will start with the lane tier list and then jump to the jungle tier list. So the criteria for a lane tier list is mostly early power spike, so lane priority, crowd control, last hidden, so secure, the ability to secure your own farm and even contest enemy farm, can you do damage, are you a ranged Pokemon or a melee Pokemon, do you have mobility, and can you support your laners by healing them or giving them shields. Right, these are my criteria. I do think that lane tier lists for SoloQ are kinda stupid because there's so many catch-up mechanics in the game. For example, you have a level 7 Pikachu who gets a KO on a level 10 Cinderace. Now Pikachu gets 2 levels, he has level 9, gets Unite move, he uses it and gets a KO or maybe 2, maybe even scores some points. In a blink of an eye, 15-20 seconds, he goes from level 7 to level 10. Yup, this is Pokemon Unite. In no other MOBA do you see this happen. Of course I'm comparing it to popular ones like League of Legends. I don't know about other obscure MOBAs, so please do not mention those. One more thing, the laning phase doesn't last for long. Ask any top player from any other MOBA and he will say the same thing. There's early game champs and there's late game champs. In lane, usually early game champs have the advantage. This phenomena is called lane priority. So if you play Charizard and you are facing a Hoopa in lane, you concede most team fights and engagements, but then in the late game, you destroy Hoopa as a Charizard. So yeah. So why am I saying all this? It's because so many content creators spend no time making tier lists. They do it in like 30 minutes to an hour. It's like free and filler content that makes them a lot of views and it's free money for them. Because if you didn't know, tier lists are the best videos to bring traffic to your channel. That's also why I'm making this video, of course. It's good for my channel. People just love watching tier lists. That's not the only reason. YouTube offers me the opportunity to speak my hearts out about certain subjects and to correct some misconceptions regarding this game. Besides that, I think I've spent too much time discussing what makes a lane tier list, so let's just get started. So we will be starting with the lane tier list. We have 9 tiers from S+ tier to F tier. So I'll start with supports. Hoopa is an S+ tier laner. Hoopa has CC, Hoopa has damage, Hoopa is ranged, Hoopa can heal allies, and Hoopa with Hyperspace Hole can teleport from any lane, so he can teleport from top lane to bot lane in an instant, like no character in the game can do so. He's already very good at level 4. No one can do what Hoopa does in lane, like no one in the game actually. Hoopa I think is the only S+ tier laner in this list, so yeah. Next up we have Blissey. Now Blissey is an S tier pick for me. Blissey is very tanky, it has secure, it can heal, it can give itself CC immunity and give another ally CC immunity. It doesn't require much farm to be good in lane. Mr. Mime. I think Mr. Mime is very underrated. I think he is an A+ laner. He has all the tools to do well in lane. He has crowd control, he has secure at level 3 and level 4, level 5, level 6, etc. He has the ability to zone enemies. Like Mime is really good in lane. He can, like, if you have a Mime in your lane, you know he's gonna do well. Like, very underrated laner. Some content creators might tell you that Mime is not good, but oh yeah, Mime also scales very well, so you know. Eldegoss is another A+ laner. Eldegoss does lack some crowd control, but he is ranged. He doesn't need much farm, he only needs like level 4 to be actually useful. He has secure, he has mobility, you know. And lastly is Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff is a very good laner. I think he is an A+ tier laner, maybe an A tier laner, it depends. But Wigglytuff at level 4 is very useful in lane, doesn't require much farm, has an AoE CC, using sync, or you can go rollout and have more mobility and also like continuous crowd control, but it's hard to pull off a rollout. Wiggly is a very strong Pokemon, also pretty tanky. It's an A+ pick in SoloQ. All supports are very good laners. They don't require any farm to be good and useful. And yeah, if you have a support in lane with you, you do pretty well most of the time. Yeah. Next up are attackers. Let's go attackers. Let's start with a very strong pick. I think Sylveon is a strong laner, an A+ laner for sure. Level 4 Sylveon is super strong in lane. You have a lot of burst damage. I wouldn't say exactly burst, but like a lot of continuous damage with Hyper Voice. You can also contest enemy farm. Sylveon is a very good pick in lane. Very strong laner in SoloQ. Trust me. Next up we have Greninja. Now I think Greninja is a D tier laner. He doesn't have much damage. Doesn't really have anything to him. He doesn't have CC. Greninja is just not good in lane, dude. Cinderace. I think Cinderace is one tier higher. Because of his passive, he can do more damage than a lot of characters. He has mobility. Yeah, Cinderace is not the worst laner, but he's still not a strong laner. He's very squishy. Doesn't have CC. You know, C tier laner for me. Then we have Pikachu. I think Pikachu is also another very strong laner, an A+ laner too. Pikachu, however, is a very strong laner, an A+ laner for me. Has CC, has damage, he is ranged, doesn't require much XP because he has a 1 evolution mon, so he gets better passive XP. Also, he can secure farm too. Pikachu is very strong, like, you know, A+ tier laner. Ninetales is also a very strong laner, doesn't require much farm, level 4, she's pretty strong. Good CC, a lot of stuns with Ninetales. It's hard to dive on Ninetales. Ranged, can secure farm, can contest enemy farm too. Yeah, Ninetales is pretty strong. Delphox. Now Delphox is an A tier laner for me. Does require much more farm than the other A+ laners. Level 7, she's pretty strong. 3 and 4, she has 2 moves that you can secure farm with it. She has no mobility, so you shouldn't be overextending too much. Yeah, Delphox is a pretty good laner. She's an A tier laner. Gardevoir has the worst level 3 and 4 in the game. Like, why do I say a level 3 and 4? Because when you start the lane, usually when you get 1 A-Palm, when you get like 1-2 A-Palms, you start with like 2.5 and then you get to level 3 pretty easily. So the laning phase starts when you are level 3. That's why I'm saying level 3 a lot. So Gardevoir before level 5 is stinky. But because she gets because she is pretty strong at level 5, I'm gonna give her C tier. She doesn't have any secure at level 3 and 4, doesn't have much kinda some mobility, gets destroyed pretty easily, very squishy, can't A-press that easily, like, But her level 5 is pretty strong, so yeah. Cramorant. Now I think Cramorant is an A+ laner, doesn't require much farm to be very useful. He has a very strong power spike at level 6. He is a 1 evolution mon, so he does get better passive XP. I'm gonna put Cram in A+. Venusaur. Now Venusaur requires farm. He does have good range, he does have some rip, he does have some CC, but he does require much more farm than the likes of Pikachu, Ninetales, and Sylveon. He's kinda like Delphox when it comes to their power spikes, so I'm gonna put him in A tier. Pretty strong laner. Espeon. Now I think Espeon is very strong in lane. I'll put her in A+ in lane. Psyshock at level 4 is one of the best abilities. It does so much damage and it stuns you. Very strong laner, doesn't require much farm. It can easily steal and contest enemy farm. Yeah, Espeon is a very strong laner. And if you do well in lane, you can get level 8 before first Dreadnought and get your Unite move and actually influence the first objective of the game. So yeah, Espeon is very strong in lane. Let's do another EV. Glaceon. Glaceon is also pretty strong in lane. However, her EV at level 3 is pretty bad, I'd say. Doesn't have any secure, like, it's pretty hard for her to get farm sometimes. So for example, like if you want to compare it to Espeon, for example, Espeon has a way stronger secure at level 3, so she can easily get to level 4. But Glaceon is but she gets level 4 and she's pretty strong with Icicle Spear, and so Glaceon is like in between A and A+, so I'm not sure where to put her exactly, so I'm just gonna put her with the other EVs in A+ tier. We have 2 attackers left. We have Decidueye. Now I think Decidueye is a C tier laner. Decidueye has no mobility. What's great about Decidueye is that he can A-press pretty well. but that's mostly it. Like, you need level 7 to actually get your second move, which is crazy actually. Oh my god, I'm gonna put Decidueye in C tier. So last one is Duraludon. I think Duraludon is an A tier laner, even though he lacks mobility early on, even though he's pretty squishy, but at level 5 you can choose between either Dragon Pulse, which can secure a lot of farm for you, or you can choose Flash Cannon, which zones enemies and also deals a lot of damage. Also, Duraludon gets free passive XP because he is a 1 evolution mon, so yeah, I'm gonna put Duraludon in A tier. Next up are defenders. I'm gonna start with a very strong pick. I'm gonna start with Slowbro. Slowbro is an A+ laner easily. Could also be an S tier laner, honestly. Slowbro is very tanky. Also, he can heal himself a lot. He is ranged. He has no trouble getting to level 4 because at level 3 he has Water Gun, which can secure farm pretty easily. He has CC, like Surf can CC and do damage. Scald can also slow and can deal a lot of damage. You know, Slowbro is a very strong laner. I'm gonna put him in A+. He could be an S tier laner too, so yeah. Next up is Mamoswine. Mamoswine, I think, is an A tier laner. He has mobility, he has CC, he has secure, he has damage, like pretty strong laner. He does require much more farm compared to Slowbro to get to his power spike. So yeah, that's why he is an A tier laner for me. Mamoswine's laning phase is kinda underrated, so if you face a Mamoswine, he's gonna stun you to death and KO you maybe, etc. You know. Yeah, Mamoswine is pretty strong in lane. A tier. Our boy Crustle. Crustle for me is an A tier laner too. He's level 4, is pretty good. He's level 3, he can secure farm. He has an AoE stun at level 3. At level 4 he goes Shell Smash, which gives him mobility and some CC immunity. At level 6 he has his X Scissors, which gives him crowd control plus a lot of damage. Crustle is a very strong laner, A tier laner for me. Next up is Snorlax. I think Snorlax is a very underrated laner. I think he is an A+ laner, could also be S tier. He has the strongest early game of any defender. I think he is the Lucario of defenders. He can CC very well, he can secure, he can contest enemy farm, he is pretty tanky. At level 5 he gets Heavy Slam, which does AoE CC, block is OP, like this character is so slept on. He also has a very strong win rate. He has the highest win rate of any defender in the game currently, even better than Slowbro's win rate. So yeah, Snorlax is an A+ laner for me at least. Trevenant. Now I think Trevenant is either low A tier or high B+. Maybe Trevenant is the best defender carry in the game currently. He can do so much, but his laning phase is a bit rough. He needs some help, kinda, you know. He's level 3 and 4, he just doesn't do damage. He doesn't have any CC, he doesn't have much mobility, like the only redeeming factor about his laning phase is that he is pretty tanky, but he needs level 5, which gives him a pretty good power spike. Yeah, I'll put him in A tier. It doesn't mean that Trevenant is bad, it's just that his laning phase is not the best, you know? Next up is Greedent. I think Greedent suffers from the same thing as Trevenant. He's level 3 and 4, he does have mobility, but like Greedent doesn't do much before level 7, you know? Like he's just there, you know? He's like a B+ laner, but then he becomes better, but he's not a strong laner. Also, you don't pick Greedent for his laning phase. Blastoise. Now, I kinda changed my mind a little bit on Blastoise. Blastoise is like the opposite of Greedent and Trevenant. So his level 3 and 4 are really strong. But then his level 5 and 6 is a bit rough. Only if you go with the Rapid Spin and Water Spout build, it gets rough. But if you go with like Hydro Pump Surf, you're still pretty strong. So I'm gonna put Blastoise in A tier. Pretty strong laner. Next up are our speedsters. Let's start with the strongest speedster in lane. Absol for sure. Pretty strong. You go full damage on Absol and you one-shot most of your opponents. Level 5, no one can challenge you, you can even invade with him and destroy the enemy jungler. He has mobility, he does have secure, he has so much burst damage. Crazy Pokemon, A+ in lane, for sure. Next up is Gengar. Now, I see a lot of people say that Gengar in lane can work, etc. But Gengar doesn't have the tools to do well in lane. Though his level 5 is pretty strong, but he lacks a lot of mobility. Especially if you go Dream Eater, you just lack so much mobility. Now, he does have some CC with his lick, but he lacks damage and he gets dove on pretty easily. Like, I'll put him in C tier in lane. Not a strong laner. Next up is Zero Aura. Zero Aura has mobility, it does have some secure, it does have damage, but it requires a lot more farm than all the other Pokemon in this current tier list, and it needs level 8 to actually be strong, but it's already strong before level 8. So it does damage, it's pretty good. It's a 1 Evolutionmon, so it also gets better passive XP, but Zero Aura is either an A tier laner or a B plus laner. I think I'll put Zero Aura in B plus. Like anything like B plus or higher, you can play it in lane. You don't need to worry much about it, okay? Next up is Talonflame, the last speedster. I think Talonflame is a little underrated in lane. He is a B plus laner for me. You could put him in A tier, but what's great about Talonflame is that you do have pretty strong early game damage. You have pretty good secure. At level 5, he is the only character in the game that has 2 mobility skills, Flame Charge and Acrobatics. If you go Flame Charge, and yeah, Fly, Flame Charge is the better moveset right now, and you Power Spike at level 7, so yeah. The last category, our all-rounders. Alright, let's start with the strongest all-rounder in lane, Lucario, S tier laner, very strong mobility, good CC, good damage, secure, gets very good passive XP because he is a 1 Evolutionmon, so yeah, Lucario is easily S tier. Next up, let's go Machamp. Alright, Machamp I think is 1 step below Lucario in lane. He has pretty good secure, he has pretty good mobility, he does have decent CC immunity with bulk up. Yeah, he's pretty good. He gets level 5, he gets Dynamic Punch, which is pretty strong. Yeah, Machamp is pretty strong in lane. He is a A plus tier laner for me. Tyranitar. Tyranitar does require some babysitting in lane. It needs a decently strong laner to go with her. If it wasn't for her early power spike at level 6, I'd put her in B plus, but because she is pretty strong at level 6, I'm gonna put her in A tier. She does have pretty decent mobility, some secure, you know, damage too, kinda, but yeah. She is an A tier laner mainly because of her early power spike at level 6. So let's continue with the theme of like Pokemon who have like muscles and who can brawl pretty well. Let's go with Buzzwole. Buzzwole, I'm gonna put Buzzwole in B tier because he doesn't have damage early game. He doesn't have secure. He can secure with his Fell Stinger, but it is very weak, less hidden, so yeah, Buzzwole is a B tier laner. His mid game is way better, by the way. Azumarill. I think Azumarill is a B plus laner. He has a pretty decent power spike, but the only problem with him is that he lacks secure early on. He does have some mobility, he does have a lot of 1v1 potential. Yeah, Azumarill is pretty decent in lane. You can lane with Azumarill. Aegislash. I think Aegislash in lane is a A tier laner. He does have decent secure. He does have good engage and damage. He needs level 7. At level 7 he becomes one of the strongest characters in the game. But yeah, now let's go to our dragons. Let's start with the fake dragon Charizard, the Pokemon who got trolled with his type-in, because if they gave him dragon type he would be way too strong as a starter, so yeah. I think Charizard is a C tier laner. Charizard doesn't have any mobility. He can he doesn't do much in lane. I don't need to talk about Charizard too much, you know. The Dragonite kind of the same thing. No mobility, very weak early on, very weak last hit in with Dragon Breath. He can't do much in lane, but Dragonite, the good thing about him is that his level 5 is pretty good, so yeah. His level 5, he gets good attack speed, he gets good mobility, so yeah. Garchomp, I think Garchomp is a B plus laner. His level 5 is pretty strong. He can, with Dragon Rush, he can get all the farm he wants, he can contest enemy farm and steal it. Pretty strong Pokemon in 1v1s. He wins most 1v1s. Yeah, Garchomp is a little underrated. He is also not well rated. Like some content creators put him like very low in the tier list, which is pretty crazy actually. Garchomp is pretty strong. He is a B plus laner, an okay laner honestly. And now to our star, Titar. I think Titar is the worst laner in the game currently. He is an F tier laner. Like I'm not capping here or something. Like he needs so much farm to actually do something. He does have some damage, which is not bad. Of course, you're gonna play Titar for late game, but his laning phase is rough. Like, he doesn't get any moves before level 9. Like, holy moly, this character is literally a farming simulator. That's all he is before level 9. F tier in lane, Titar. Yep. So yeah, this was the lane tier list. Hoopa is the best laner in the game and T-Tar is the worst laner in the game. Next up is the jungle tier list. So we have 8 tiers in jungle, from S+ tier to D tier, which I named it Do Not. And as you see here, I already have like 10 characters in the Do Not jungle. So it's mostly defenders and supports. So if I want to start the jungle tier list, I'm gonna start with speedsters because the game tells you that speedsters are the ones who should be jungling, right? That's a pretty funny joke, yeah? So I'm gonna start with a very strong pick, Absol. So Absol for me is an A+ tier laner, very strong ganks early on. He doesn't have secure, he does have a lot of damage, he can steamroll games. Yeah, A+ jungler for me. Next up is Talonflame. I think Talonflame is an A tier jungler in SoloQ. Talonflame just lacks a bit of damage. One of the best things about him is that he gets his Unite move faster than all speedsters and faster than like 30 other characters in the game. He has one of the best skills in the game, which is Fly. He can secure with it and also evade with it. In good hands, he's pretty strong. So yeah, so A tier jungler for me. Next up is Zero Aura. I think Zero Aura is an S tier jungler. Zero Aura has such a strong Unite move. It's so strong. It's so good. It can one-shot 3 enemies in literally a couple seconds. I've tried it and I've done it before with Zera. Energy Amplifier with Zera is so OP too. Like Zero Aura has good mobility, it has good escapes, it has good damage, AoE damage of course. Like wow, Zero Aura is very strong in the current meta. Definitely S tier. Gengar, our last jungler. I think if this wasn't a SoloQ tier list, I'd put Gengar in A+ or A tier. But since this is a SoloQ tier list, I'm gonna put Gengar in S tier. Gengar can just steamroll the game. He's resets with Dream Eater. He can secure with Dream Eater. He can rip objectives with hacks. Such a strong Pokemon. Definitely a very OP pick for SoloQ in jungle. Right. Next up, I'm gonna do our defenders actually. I forgot a couple defenders. Blastoise is a B+ jungler for me. He would have been higher if he didn't get nerfed a bit too much. His Unite move just does not do much damage anymore. Even if you play Energy Amplifier and you have 6 stacks on your special specs, it's just not that good anymore. Like it does have good CC, which is pretty good, but yeah. As for Greedent, I'm gonna put Greedent in C tier. You can jungle Greedent, even though it's kind of a throw. But yeah. Next up, our attackers. So I will start with a very strong pick in SoloQ, in jungle. I think Greninja is an S tier jungler. Very, very strong jungler. He has secure with Surf. He has a very strong Unite move that can't get cancelled, unlike another AD carry. Yeah, Greninja can steamroll games. He can Unite to engage and have like 5 KOs and just destroy the enemy team. Very good secure too. Like he can also outplay opponents with his smoke screen. Very strong jungler in SoloQ, one of the best junglers in SoloQ. Speaking about Greninja, of course we need to mention Cinderace next. Cinderace I think is one step below Greninja right now. Cinderace is an A+ jungler for me. Cinderace has good mobility. If the fights ever extend way too much, Cinderace comes on top. He has good secure with his Unite move. Cinderace is a bit too linear to be as good as Greninja in jungle. Next up we have Decidueye, the other AD carry. Decidueye in jungle, currently in the meta. Razor Leaf, Spirit Shackle, whatever. A B+ in jungle honestly. Like he does have secure, but bro, Decidueye in the late game, he just gets dove on so easily. In teamfights he gets dove on. You need some pretty good frontline and still you get dove on. You have no mobility, it's hard to kite with him. This Decidueye is a bit rough in jungle, but he is still a good pick, so B+ is not bad. Next up is Gardevoir. I think Gardevoir is better than the Decidueye, especially if you use a Future Sight. Future Sight gives you more move speed, you can kite better with Gardevoir, it has really good secure, the Unite move is pretty good. Yeah, Gardevoir is pretty strong in jungle, an A tier jungler for me. Next up, the EVs. Let's talk about the EVs. Sylveon. Now Sylveon I think is a B+ pick. Sylveon has a pretty good first gank. Hyper Voice does a lot of damage. You can also invade with it after you finish your jungle. You can invade enemy jungle and ping your jungle to someone else maybe, but that's hard to do in SoloQ. Mystical Fire is also pretty good. You can chase down enemies pretty well with it. It does also a decent amount of damage. But yeah, Sylveon is a B+ pick for me. It does lack a little bit of secure. Also, Sylveon, it's so hard for her to 1v9 or 1v5, etc. But it's a pretty decent pick in jungle. Espeon jungle is B tier. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk too much about Espeon, honestly. It has some good secure. With Psyshock, you can secure objectives pretty well, but it's not a jungler, honestly. The last evolution, Glaceon, is pretty strong in jungle, actually. Maybe because it's just bugged, that's why it's pretty strong. But anyways, Icicle Spear is very strong. Like, that move can do damage to you from far away. It can rip objectives pretty well. It does HP percentage damage, but there's still a lot of junglers that scale better than Glaceon. So I'm gonna put Glaceon in A tier. Yeah, Glaceon is A tier in jungle. Could be A+, but Next up is Venusaur. I think Venusaur is a B+ jungler, not the best jungler, depends what moveset you play. Maybe he's an A tier jungler actually. Venusaur doesn't have any secure if you go Petal Dance. It has really good team fight in. The Unite move is, the Unite move is pretty good engage for Venusaur. Maybe I should put Venusaur in A tier actually. Yeah, I think Venusaur is pretty good in A tier. Yeah, A tier for jungle Venusaur, yeah. Next up is, let's see, Cramorant. I think Cramorant is an A+ jungler. Very good mobility, very good engages. He can get a lot of vision. He can invade enemy jungle, steal, and leave unskated. Very strong jungler right now. A+ in jungle for sure. Delphox is an A tier jungler for me. Doesn't have much mobility unless you go with the Flame Charge build, but maybe I should put Delphox in A+, but Delphox doesn't have any mobility. It's not really hyper carry. The Unite move, charge in every minute, is pretty strong. Delphox doesn't have much secure. It can secure, yeah, but it's not the best secure. Do you want a Cinderace in jungle, or do you want someone like Delphox in jungle? What's better? What scales better in the late game? You know? Yeah. Next up is Pikachu. Yeah, Pikachu, you can jungle with him. Pikachu, I think, is a B+ jungler. Pikachu with red buff and the Unite move, charging pretty fast, is very strong actually. If you pick Pikachu jungle, you're not trolling. You're actually Pikachu is pretty strong. Secure, yeah, you can Unite to secure, but it's not the best secure in the game. He doesn't have much mobility, which is like pretty rough, so yeah. B+ in jungle is pretty fair for Pikachu. Next up is Ninetales. I think Ninetales is a B tier jungler. The Unite move is not the strongest. Ninetales, yeah, I'm gonna put her in B tier. Duraludon. I think Duraludon is either A tier or A+. I'm more leaning towards A tier because he doesn't have much mobility. He does have some CC, but he is very squishy. Like, if someone dives on you, you're just freaking dead. You have good secure though. Your Unite move is pretty strong. It's either A or A+. I'm gonna put him in A tier for now. So yeah, that was our last attacker. Now let's go to our all-rounders. Let's start with a very strong all-rounder pick. Dragonite in jungle is an S tier pick. Very strong character, a lot of mobility, very strong secure with Hyper Beam. You can win most objectives with it. You don't need a lot of farm to be impactful. Dragonite is super strong. I don't need to say anything else about Dragonite. S tier jungler, easily. Let's go for Buzzwole. Buzzwole in jungle is a B tier jungler. His mid game is pretty good, but his ganking is actually decent. He doesn't scale pretty well. But his late game fights, his team fights in general are not the strongest. Even though he's supposed to be a team fight character, right? But his team fighting is not that strong. So yeah, Buzzwole does not impress me right now. But alright, let's go to our other muscular boy, Machamp. Machamp in jungle is A tier. He has good ganks, he has a good Unite move, but he's not a very strong carry compared to the other carries. He actually lacks secure. He does have really good mobility and damage, which is mostly... So yeah, Machamp is an A tier. A better all-rounder fighter jungler would be Tyranitar. Tyranitar is an A+ jungler. Tyranitar is a better carry than Machamp. She has very good team fighting, very good survivability, very good healing, very good shields, a lot of damage. Like, this Pokemon is crazy actually. Not as strong as the other picks, like not as strong as Zero Aura, Gengar, Greninja, or Dragonite in jungle, but Tyranitar is pretty good. You can play Tyranitar and carry games pretty easily in jungle. Let's go with Lucario. Now, Lucario, you don't need to jungle with him, you can just play him in lane. very strong in lane, but Lucario in jungle is pretty decent. Lucario doesn't scale, maybe he actually scales, but Lucario in SoloQ in general, in SoloQ Lucario is pretty rough because your teammates need to react to all of your engages, and you need to do so much with Lucario to actually be impactful. His Unite move is a bit rough. That's what sets Lucario like behind a little bit in SoloQ. I think I'll put Lucario in B+, even though you don't need to jungle him. But if you want to jungle Lucario, if you're a good Lucario player, yeah, he can work in jungle. Next up, let's go with the sword, Aegislash. Aegislash is an A+ jungler for sure. He has very good secure with his Unite move. He also has very good engage with the Sacred Sword, good CC immunity, good crowd control, good survivability, good healing, etc, etc, etc. You know, Aegislash is very strong in the jungle, A+. Azumarill. Blue Pikachu, right? I think Azumarill is pretty good in jungle. He is an A tier jungler. He has really good team fighting. He can, his Unite move is pretty strong right now. Though Azumarill kinda maybe needs stacks. Your level 5, 7 gank is pretty decent. Now, in 1v1s, Azumarill crits a lot, so whenever he is farming, he gets to farm faster than all other characters. That's why he can use like his Unite move pretty fast, he can charge them pretty fast and use them pretty often in the game. Azumarill has like a lot of ways to catch up with his Unite move. I think I'll put Azumarill in A tier. Next up is our dragons, right? Charizard, for example, the fake dragon, right? I think Charizard is still a very strong jungler. I think in SoloQ he is probably an A+ jungler. He has one of the strongest Unite moves. His Unite move is gonna get nerfed in the next patch, but currently it's very strong. I personally like to use Energy Amplifier on Charizard with X attack, and sometimes if I farm correctly, etc., if I get good KOs and score some goals, I can Unite move 4 times before Zapdos, actually. 4 times. And still get my Unite move at Zap, which is crazy. Charizard does lack secure, but his team fighting is very strong, and SoloQ you most of the time team fight to get the last objective, so yeah. Garchomp, now Garchomp is a very strong jungler. I think he is an A+ jungler. Garchomp scales very well in the late game. He can like literally 1v9 sometimes. Very strong team fighting, one of the best team fighters in the game. His first ganks, his level 5, 7 gank is pretty strong because he gets Dragon Rush and he can push his bees to his side, then farm them and stay ahead of the enemy jungler. Like, Garchomp is very strong in jungle. Do not sleep on this guy. Very strong pick in jungle. Now, our last character, our last Pokemon, Tyranitar. Tyranitar, the star of this patch. Tyranitar, the star of this video, right? I think Tyranitar is for sure not an S tier jungler. I think Tyranitar is an A+ tier jungler. Mainly because his early game, his early couple or triple rotations in jungle are pretty bad. Like, his ganks are not strong. Not getting a second move at level 7 or 8 is just rough on a jungler. Like, Tyranitar is dependent on how well your teammates do in lanes, right? So if you want to play Tyranitar in jungle, you should probably have something like Snorlax in lane, Lucario in lane, something like Pikachu in lane, something like Blissey, Mr. Mime, Eldegoss in lane, Hoopa, like something strong that can help you get an advantage whenever you gank, because your first ganks are very rough. Like, because, like, for example, if someone is playing, I don't know, Dragonite has a much better gank than, than Tyranitar. If someone is playing Gardevoir has a much better gank. Machamp has a much better gank early on. Like, so many characters have much better ganks, you know? But Tyranitar still has a very strong level 9+. Like, his Unite move is pretty OP. The true damage needs to be nerfed. I'll put Tyranitar in A+ because his early game is very bad. In early game, he is mostly a farming simulator. If he doesn't get level 9 before Dread, he's pretty useless. Like, and yeah, I actually forgot about a certain character. People need to understand a certain concept about jungle. Jungle is not for just bad laners, you know? Jungle is not just free farm so you can scale later in the game. Jungle is also for any Pokemon that can scale faster and help his lanes get a certain advantage when he ganks their lanes. Like, it's not just about level 9. Like, Like for example, Absol and for example Gengar have very strong early jungle ganks. If the opponents are trolling, if they're not playing correctly as they should, they're gonna get steamrolled, and maybe the Gengar or the Absol are going to be level 10 at first Dreadnought. Maybe if the first gank is successful, they can, for example, gank or invade the enemy jungle, you know, and they can stop him in his drag, get even more XP, etc., you know. Like if you have a bad early game jungle, like the first 2-3 minutes, you're not as useful. You're gonna put your teammates behind, you're gonna, like, you know, this is the problem with Tyranitar. That's why Tyranitar is not S tier in jungle. Like, you're gonna have much easier time playing the other characters in jungle. 100% of the time. Clefable, guys, Clefable. Man, this character is definitely S+ tier. Like, this character has the resets of Gengar, he has the secure of Dragonite, he has the crits of Absol, he has the fighting of Serena, he has the unite move of Hoopa and Blissey all together, he has the CC of freaking, of the, I don't know, man, this character is so freaking crazy, I can't actually, it's alright guys, that was a pretty decent joke from me, I guess. So yeah, this is the tier list. Clefable being an S+ tier, I'm joking, this is the tier list. So Zero Aura and Gengar, Greninja and Dragonite are the best junglers in the current meta. I can actually remove some characters from the D tier. I can actually put like Slowbro in C tier, Crossley in C tier, Mime in C tier, and Eldegoss in C tier. Like you can jungle these characters, but do not jungle these characters. I should probably stop joking too much. But yeah, this is the tier list. The lane tier list on the left side and the jungle tier list on your right side. Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you liked this tier list. I'm gonna do a tier list every new patch, so expect a tier list when Mew is released. And also there's like a lot of changes to Unite moves, to characters, to like skills, etc. in the next couple weeks. So yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and see ya!